So today, I'm going to, have we treated loop? No, we haven't, right? We haven't done this. Okay. So before I go into loop today, I want to do a little recap. Remember, I said you can declare a variable using the var, the let, the const, keywords, then give it a name, for example, first number, then, and I said this equal sign is not equality, it is an assignment operator. So I don't, no, you will notice I kept repeating this so that you will not go and confuse this operator with equality, the double equality, and the triple equality operator. I've explained this in the past. Now, when you assign a value to this, say 10, remember this type of is a form of data structure. No, in the programming world, we tend not to call it a data structure, but I want you to see it as a form of data structure. But this type, this, or don't let me use type, let me use this kind. That is a better way to put it. This kind can only hold one item, one data stroke item, right? But if you, and for you to call the data out of this variable, all you need is to specify the variable name. Some will say you are using the data inside, but I view it as calling. I'm calling this data out. I call this data out by just specifying the name of the variable. At the same time, you use the var keyword, or the let, or the const to declare another kind of data structure called an array, right? And this one can hold one or more data. I can put in name here, a string. I can even store an object here. I can do object here. I can even store another array inside it. Now, this kind of data structure holds one or more data or items. And for me to call any of this data, I will say use a variable name called array. This is a variable name, but something is different. Unlike the very first one that I just specified the name, there's no postfix here, right? But in array, I need to indicate a postfix, which is a square bracket. And I will specify the position, call the index, and the starting point is 0. So whatever, this is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 for now. So if I want Sean, all I need to do is to specify 2 right in there, and this will return me Sean. There are other kinds of data structure which we are going into later. I have not introduced it to you. the maps, the sets, and so on and so forth. Even what's it called? Stack, queue, many. Now, I've explained what if, else if, else, what it does, and what switch also does. And I believe there's no question on what we have treated in the past. So what is loop? We are talking about loop today. I want you to pay a very close attention because loop is maybe maybe a difficult concept to grab for some people. Let me just clear the right loop. We have different types of loops. We have what we call the for loop, the while loop, the do while loop. Now we now have another type, a variant of for, but we are not going into that for now. The for in and the for off, but we are not going into this variant for now. So I'm going to close my eyes to these two. So I will try and talk about these three today, if time permits. Why do we need the loop? Now, when you find yourself trying to do a repetitive task, for example, maybe in your office or maybe school or at home, somebody instructs you, go and get me 10 glass of water. You have your glass cup. Go and get me 10 glass. So you go to the tap, the faucet, in the kitchen or wherever. You go there, fetch. You take it to the location where it is needed. You dish it out. You go again, fetch. You go back, dish it out. You go again, fetch, until the 5 times is completed. So this is a loop. Doing a task or multiple tasks repeatedly. So now, what is for loop? For loop syntax go like this. Just like you have your if, then your code block. Also, just like you have your switch, brackets, then the block of codes. Similarly, for loop is in that format also. The while loop is in that format also. The only one that is slightly different is the do while. Do the code block, then you check the condition here while a certain condition is true. Let's go to the for loop. For, I open my brackets, then my code block right in there. Three things are important. Follow me, you raise your hand. I cannot hear you if you are talking. Follow me.
I did my homework.
Okay. I was asking earlier, you didn't respond. Okay, that'll be later.
Okay, so
You can put down your hand. So there are three things you need to consider when you are dealing with loop. If you do not consider those things very well, you will end up in what is called an infinite loop. You just continue to be going round and round indefinitely. So we call it infinite, or some will say infinite loop. Infinite loop is a loop without ending, without an end. So the program will continue to be in the loop until it crashes, or maybe some operating system is so smart it will just end it after some time. It will end the program, it will terminate it. So what are these three things? Number one, you need to declare a variable, let me call this I, to keep count of the number of times you've gone through the loop. Then you have your comma separated. Then you now check the condition that, okay, continue this loop as long as this condition is satisfied. For example, it can be if I is less than 20, continue to loop. But the moment I is not less than 20, terminate the loop. If you stop at this level, you will still be in an infinite loop. Why? Because nothing is changing this variable I. If this I does not change, I will continually be 0. And the moment I is 0, 0 will always be less than 20. And once 0 is less than 20, you will still be within the loop. It will still try to carry out the task within this code block or the statement to still carry it out until the system crashes or terminates the program. So there must be something that must increase this variable I. And that is why the third item is important. You need to either, okay, in this case, not either. In this case, you must increase the value of I by 1. I hope you remember this operator, plus plus operator, which we discussed in the past. The plus plus operator will increment or will increase the value of I by 1 each time you go through the loop. So what is going on here? So since I is less than 20, for now I is 0, it will check. Is it less than 20? Yes, it will come here, execute this, execute this, execute this, execute this, execute this until it gets to this closing block. And once it gets to this closing block, it will now go to this third item. It will increase the value of I by 1. So once this I is incremented by 1, now I is no longer 0, but 1. So it will now come back here. From here, it will come here. Check the condition. Is I less than 20? Yes, 1 is less than 20. It will enter into this code block. Execute, 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 and execute. It will come here. Now go back to this increment. It will increase this variable high again. So this time I will now be what? 2. So 2, it will now check the condition again. Is 2 less than 20? Yes, 2 is less than 20. That is true. It will come here, execute, execute until this value gets to 20. It will now check, is 20 less than 20? And that is false. And once this is false, it will go out of this loop. It will not execute this statement any longer. Let me go to the visual code. I will like to use the visual code to demonstrate this so that I can use the debugger so that you can see the movement of these of the for loop. Let me see. Let me see whether I have anything for loop here. Okay. No, this is factorial. Okay. Um, let's see. Okay. Let me comment this out first. I want you to, I don't want to go into function yet. So for let I equals 0, I will check is my I less than, let me just use 5 in this case, because I want it to quickly get out of the debugging mode. So all I need to do here is, let me check whether if Okay, let me do 10. Okay, let me just do 6. So I want to check if this, I want to print out the word even. If once this I is even, is an even number. So I go to the code. I will say if I believe this if condition should not be a problem now, right? You all understood what if condition is all about. So I want to check if this is an even number. And how do I check? An even number is divisible by 2, meaning that if I divide an even number by 2, the remainder is always 0. So I'm going to check, is I divisible by 2? It's more the remainder. Remember that this operator, modulus, we always return me the remainder. I hope you guys can remember. So I will test it. The value that is being returned by this expression, is it equal to 0? If it is equal to 0, I want you to print out even instead of 2, instead of 4. Print out that. Else, print out I. I want it to just print out the odd numbers. Now, I'm going to go to the debugging mode. Look at this bug here. This is how this is where you can run your code in the debug mode. But before I can do that, I need to insert what is called a breakpoint. A breakpoint, what is a breakpoint? A breakpoint is that point where you want the interpreter to stop for you to view your variables or to monitor how your code is being run. So I'm going to insert a breakpoint here by just clicking right before this line number. You can see that red circle. I'll just click on it. So the code, the interpreter will stop at that point. So I'm going to run. Now I'm in the debugging mode. Now you can see, look at this pointer. See that yellow pentagon sign pointing at the if. Or let me stop it. Let me stop it first. Let me put it here so that we can start at the beginning. I'm going to run it again. Now look at that pointer, this thing, this pentagon. That is where the interpreter is, the pointer. So it for at this point in time is on I, assigning 0 to what? To I. Right now, as I move my mouse, my cursor over the letter I, you can see that it is undefined. Undefined means that variable has not been is yet to be assigned a data. In fact, if you look here, you will see that variable I is undefined. Now, look at these buttons here. If I click step into, which means go execute this line and go to the next one and wait there for me. If I click on it, it has assigned 0 to this I. Now I is 0. If I put my cursor over I, you will see the value 0 on top. So it has gone to the next executable line, which is checking the condition. Is I less than 6? If the output of this statement expression is true, it will now enter into the code block. If I click next, you can see 0 is less than 6. So it has entered in here. It's now checking that condition. When I divide 0 by 2, is the remainder 0? If this is true, it will come into this code block here. I'm clicking on next. You can see now that this is true. This returns true. So it's now in there. If I click next, that will be executed. So the even will be printed. Did I close it? It seems I ended the debugging. Let me start it again. Okay. Why is it ending? Or is it because okay, hold on. Let me check something. It should not end. This console.log even, then else. Okay. Okay, yes. So now, let me click next. Okay. Let me start again. Now, I is 0, is checking. True. It has gone into the code block. Next, it has executed. Now it's gone back. It has gone here to increase the value of I. Right? So I is now 1. It's now checked again. Is 1 less than 6? True. It's now got into this code block again. This code block, this one here. So it's now trying to check, is 1 divisible by 2? If I click next, you see it is not divisible by 2. So it skipped this code block and enter into the else code block. So print out this I. If I go on, it will print that out. Let me see whether it is printing it out. Yes, it's printing it out, even then 1. So it has increased I. If I click next, it will increase I to 2. Here, it's now 2. Then it's now checking again. Look at you can see this pointer. It's checking. Is 2 less than 6? It is less than 6. True. It will come into the code block. It will check. Is 2 now divisible by 2? True. To come here to print even number, it will go back again to try to increase the value of I. The value of I has increased to 3. Now it's here checking for the condition. Is 3 less than 6? True. To come into the code block, is 3 divisible by 2? No, it's not. It will escape this and come here. It will print 3 because I is 3 at that point in time. To come back here, increase value of I again, check the condition, check whether it's divisible. Yes, 4 is divisible. It will print even, and so on and so forth. If I keep on clicking, now I is 6. Is 6 less than 6? No. 6 is not less than 6. That will return a false. And at that point, it's going to exit the loop. You can see it's trying to exit the loop. And that is the end of the code. Is there any question?
No, sir.
Okay. I've tried to explain it the best I can. I've broken it down in pieces for you to understand. Now, when it comes to while loop, these 3 conditions or items come into play. Let me go to the board. Instead of the 3 items to be in one location, in the while loop, they are splitted. You declare the value of I outside, then you check the condition in the while loop. Is I less than 6? If that is true, go to the code block, execute the statement. Then at the end, you need to increment the value of I. This is super important because if you do not increase the value of I at this point, you are going to enter into an infinite loop. You can see that those 3 items in the for loop, instead of them to be in a location, they are now splitted. This one is this one is that, and this one is also that. So the same thing holds. So once this expression returns true, this statement will be executed. This value will be incremented until it gets to 6, which is not less than 6, and this will now return false. And it will now exit the loop. Is there any question? No question. Let's quickly demonstrate it for just demonstration's sake. I'm going to use this internal code, the same. I'm going to comment this out. Let I'm going to assign 0 to I. Then I'm going to do while I is less than 6. Enter into the code block and execute that. And once that is executed, remember that this, once it enters here, it can either run this code or run that code, whichever is the case. Always remember to do what? To increase your value of I. Is there any question on this? Is there any question? No, no question. Okay. Let me try to run this. Don't worry about what I'm about to type, because this is at least beyond the class for now. Continue, right? Algorithm. Let's continue inside here. Yeah, so now you can see this exactly the same is printed. Even 1, even 3, even 5. Now, the do while loop is similar to while loop. The only difference is that in do while, the code inside the block is executed at least once before checking the condition. Let's go to the board for me to explain. So I have the variable I assign 0 to it. Then do, you can see that this do is not checking for any condition at this point in time. Therefore, it will execute the statement here at least once before checking the condition while I is less than 6. Therefore, it means that within this code block, you must increase I. So let's go and see it in action. I'm still going to copy this, comment this one out. I have the variable there. So I can say do this while I is less than 6. Let me clear my console. If I run the code, I have exactly the same output. Is there any question? Is there any question?
No, sir, I have a question.
Okay, you have a question.
It said I don't have a
Okay,
question.
you don't have a question. All right, thank you. Okay. I have an assignment for you. And this is the assignment. I want you to print numbers from 0 to 100. Output it. I want to see it in the console. I'm being specific now. I want to see it in the console. But I don't want to see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on to 100. Rather, I want you to replace numbers divisible by 3. Replace that number with fees. Replace numbers divisible by 5 with buzz. And lastly, replace numbers divisible by 15 with fees buzz. So I want to see, okay, let me remove this 0. Start from 1 to 100, because 0 is common to the 3. So start from 1 to 100. So I want to see 1, 2, fees. 4, buzz. 6, fees. 7, 8, fees. Buzz. 11, fees. 13, 14, fees. Buzz. 16, and so on till 100. So 100 is also divisible by 5. So this will be replaced with buzz. So is the assignment clear enough? Is there any question on the assignment?
No.
No question. I want to reiterate again. I will not be tired repeating myself on this. I will teach in the class. You will understand. But it will not be part of you if you do not practice. An assignment is part of practicing. Many are not submitting assignments. Nobody will force you here. There's no brute force here. But we strongly advise that if you truly want to make a career out of this, you need to put your hands, your fingers into your keyboard and do your assignment. Else, it will not be part of you. You will keep on listening to tutorials upon tutorials upon tutorials. Without practice, it will not be part of you. All right. So I can now pause my recording. So let's discuss that assignment.